if I was on some like bizarre talk show with a little name underneath my face would be post-operative female to male transsexual. When I was born, a little girl, parents were very happy about that, but I always felt I was a little boy. It's not like when I was 18 I kicked back a couple of beers and said, oh, I think I'm going to live the rest of my life as a man. It was like during Halloween being forced to wear a mask. You could see your eyes through it and know that you're underneath this facade, and people react to you and treat you a certain way and look at you a certain way based on this facade that you're presenting. And when you're forced to perform a role like that your entire life, it's no longer fun, and that's what my life was like. It was as though my body was continually betraying me. It was like complete dissociation between myself and these things hanging on my chest. When I started deciding on suicide, it was because I felt there was no other way. It was the fear of failure that prevented me from actually trying suicide. They say that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and that's true, but I felt I had a permanent problem. I envy people who can look in a mirror and not feel this discongruity between what they see on the outside and what they feel on the inside. Until I transitioned, was I able to look in a mirror and see that. My parents, they thought I was just a lesbian, but I was repressing it, which is why I was so miserable. There was a book by a male to female, and I read through that book in like one day. I wrote a note to my mom and left it in the book. So she came in and, asked me, and she was in tears and hysterical. And I said, that's how I felt about myself and what I wanted. And she said that, all my friends were going to desert me and, I would lose my job. It terrified me. But I couldn't keep existing for my mom's convenience. I had to live so I could look at myself in the mirror every morning. When I started taking the male hormones, it was like my body was just hungering for that to happen. This is actually called halotestin. Since I don't produce enough testosterone on my own, I take this supplement. When I started taking the hormones, the clitoris increased in size to the point where it becomes essentially a microphallus. The clitoris, which is about an inch or so long, they cut away all the connecting tissue so that it, stands out a little more. They take the labia majora, which is the same tissue as the scrotal sac, and they make a scrotum out of it, put in implants. I have complete erotic sensation. I can get an erection when I get aroused. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the highlights, For females to males, there's really 3 separate distinct surgeries. The first one that most of the guys usually get is a mastectomy. Second surgery is usually a hysterectomy and oophorectomy, which is removal of the ovaries and the uterus. The third surgery is usually some sort of genital surgery, and there's a lot of different kinds of genital surgery. A lot of guys actually have just a mastectomy and never have anything else done. I actually have had the 3 kinds of surgery. My first surgery in '84, my second surgery in '86, and in my last surgery in '92. So it was, quite a long process. It wasn't like, oh, let's just go get it done. If you were to just see me out at the pool or something, we'll say, oh, well, you had heart surgery, but most people don't realize that heart surgery is vertical rather than horizontal. For several years, especially after my mom found out I had the mastectomy, she would get hysterical and start crying, and she called me an ugly, mutilated freak, that I killed her daughter. And she doesn't know who I am. She doesn't want to know who I am, really. She had this image of who she wanted her daughter to be, and I destroyed all that for her.